Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail has announced 5 of 7 members of the Independent Police Conduct Commission, IPCC. Datuk Zulkifli Dahlan, a former Chief Director of the Implementation and Coordination Unit at the Prime Minister's Department, will be Chairman of the Commission.
Dengan adanya 5 daripada 7, kemudian IPCC akan wujud sebagai satu badan berkanun Suruhanjaya. Mereka akan menjalankan tugas hakiki mereka lah, iaitu menerima aduan tentang salah laku anggota atau pegawai pasukan sesuai dengan tujuan asal penubuhan IPCC. Debate tentang ini rasional pro and con dah selesai. Sekarang adalah soal aktanya dah wujud dan sekarang adalah melaksanakannya.
Other members of the commission include former head of the Prime Minister's Department's Advisory Board, Datuk Muhammad Jazamuddin Ahmad Nawawi, and former National Audit Department Director, Martina Elias Kartina Zamhari. Also appointed were former Police Logistics and Technology Department Deputy Director, Datuk Shukri Abdullah, and former Senior Director at the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, Datuk Tan Kang Sai. The IPCC bill was passed in Parliament last year, replacing the Independent Police Complaints and Misconduct Commission IPCMC bill tabled in 2019 by the former Pakatan Harapan administration.
The police have received a total of 75 police reports so far nationwide with regards to the Dubai move and alleged plot to topple the current government. Bukit Aman Criminal Investigations Department Director Datuk Sri Muhammad Shuhaili Muhammad Zain says of the total, 31 reports were lodged by politicians and the remainder by the public.
He said the matter had raised public concern and could potentially cause disruption to peace and harmony. The Dubai move is in reference to alleged discussions in the United Arab Emirates between opposition leaders and certain government representatives with the aim to topple Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim and his administration. In response to allegations, on January 7th, Perikatan National Election Director Datuk Sri Muhammad Sanusi Mat Noor claimed the opposition had enough statutory declarations to achieve the goal. However, Anwar has previously stated that the Dubai move would not affect the stability of the unity government.
The police will not stop its investigation until the murderer of Zain Ryan Abdul Matin is brought to justice. Bukit Aman Criminal Investigations Department Director Datuk Sri Muhammad Shuhaili Muhammad Zain said the police are currently triangulating all the findings from their investigation.
We will try to triangulate what we have before and what we will have in the future or what we have in the present to go further on informations that we receive. As far as forensic is concerned, we have exhausted most of our alternatives. We are waiting for some of the result to come back, but whether the result will eventually help us to find the primary crime scene, which we think, as IGP said yesterday, we will have to wait for the result on that matter.
On Tuesday, Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussain said forensic investigation into the case had not yielded any actionable result. Zain Ryan, a 6-year-old autistic boy, was found dead about 34 hours after he was reported missing last month. His body was discovered at about 10 p.m. on December 6 in a river near his home at Idaman Apartment, Damansara Damai in Petaling Jaya.
The residence of Beruas Member of Parliament Dato' Nge Kuham caught fire early this morning as a result of an alleged arson attack. Perak Police Chief Dato' Sri Muhammad Yusri Hassan Basri said that PDRM are now hunting for an individual suspected of hurling a Molotov cocktail that caused the fire. The incident occurred at around 3 a.m. No one was injured, but 3 vehicles at the house parking area were damaged in the fire. DAP Secretary General Anthony Loh released a statement condemning the attack, stressing that any form of extremism is unacceptable in dealing with differences in society. Nge recently caused controversy by suggesting non-Muslims be included in a special committee on Sharia law. He later apologized and withdrew the proposal after being criticized by various parties. The cabinet also condemned the attack. Communications Minister Fahmi Fadzil said the public was reminded to act according to the law, including in managing differences of opinion. Meanwhile, the Cabinet has agreed to place several agencies under the Digital Ministry, beginning with Digital Nasional Berhad (DNB) that operates Malaysia's 5G network. Others also going to the Digital Ministry are Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation or AMDAC, Cybersecurity Malaysia and the Malaysian Administrative Modernisation and Management Planning Unit, MAMPU.
Communications Minister Fahmi Fadzil said cybersecurity was put under the Prime Minister's department, but the Prime Minister agreed for it to be transferred so that corporate and private sector work can continue under the Digital Ministry. Fahmi also said the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, will remain under his ministry. Separately, Fahmi announced that Malaysia's 5G network has surpassed the target of 80% coverage of populated area, having achieved 80.2% in December.
The government will take into account the ability of employers and the current state of the country's economy when implementing the progressive wage policy. Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli reiterates that the policy is voluntary and cannot be imposed arbitrarily.
Rafizi highlighted the fact that most employers in the country are actually from micro, small and medium enterprises, making up 97% of businesses in Malaysia. He said by making the wage policy mandatory, some companies may go out of business or lose their jobs, adding that the right approach must also include incentives from the government. Rafizi stressed that the aim of the policy was not just monetary, but also about convincing employers to raise wages gradually. The progressive wage policy, under which employers would gradually increase the wages of their workers based on their skills and performance, will begin in June with a pilot project involving 1,000 companies.
We'll go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more. Welcome back. Malaysia experiences between 500 and 530 floods each year during the monsoon season. Some 130,000 to 150,000 people are displaced from their homes each year as a result. Although the Malaysian government spends around 36 billion ringgit a year on initiatives to mitigate the effects of flooding, the question is whether this investment aligns proportionately with the increasing frequency of water-related disaster attributed to global warming. Dr. Kamarul Azhari Raza of University Technology Malaysia weighs in.
Those projects is very costly and it takes times to see the impact. Given the fact that the impact of climate change prevail, and this risk is very systemic, and most of our floods or water-related disaster are localized. So that's why we have seen every year a number of new areas are flooded are increasing as well. So as I mentioned, we have about 500 number of flooding every year, and it's cover about 4,648 hotspots of flooding. So these numbers are increasing dramatically every year.
Dr. Kamarul urged the government to ramp up investments into data-driven targeted mitigation projects.
The current monsoon, the recent one, we are talking about 40% of the flooded area are basically the one that we are predicted. And if we know that this area is going to be flooded in the coming monsoon, I think there are some targeted investment should be increased. Some, investments that address the most in needs. So this pretty much come into the second point. It's not just about structural mitigation measure, like RTB project, but we can also increase a number of early warning system. Some of the area that we are facing every year don't have even early warning system, and some of the systems have not received properly.
On the international front, Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa has declared an internal armed conflict in the country, ordering security forces to neutralize criminal gangs. This comes after armed men interrupted a live television broadcast and threatened staff.
During the broadcast on public television channel TC, staff were forced to the floor before the live feed was cut. Police later reported making 13 arrests and all staff members were released, although 2 sustained injuries. Ecuador has seen a surge in violence in recent years as rival gangs linked to Mexican and Colombian cartels vie for control of drug trafficking routes. At least 10 people have been killed after explosions, police kidnappings and prison riots rocked the country since a 60-day state of emergency began on Monday. Noboa declared the state of emergency after one of Ecuador's most powerful drug lords, Adolfo Macias, or better known as Fito, escaped from prison. Noboa assumed the presidency last November after winning an election marred by the assassination of presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio, who reportedly received death threats from Fito just days before he was shot dead while leaving a campaign rally.
Meanwhile, China says it will never compromise on the issue of Taiwan in its first military talks with the US since 2021. It also urged the US to respect the One China principle and stop arming Taiwan, which is due to hold elections on Saturday.
China views Taiwan as its own territory, despite the strong objections of the government in Taipei. China had previously refused to resume talks in protest at former US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan in August 2022. The resumption earlier this week followed an agreement reached by Chinese President Xi Jinping and US President Joe Biden at a meeting in November. Separately, Taiwan said it did not consider the launch of a Chinese satellite over its southern airspace as an act of election interference. The Defense Ministry also apologized for inaccurately describing the satellite as a missile in an island-wide alert sent to mobile phones. Chinese state media had said the satellite was being used to observe mysterious transient phenomena.
German commuters is set to face train cancellations across the country following a 3-day nationwide rail strike beginning today. National rail operator Deutsche Bahn said only around 20% of its long-distance trains are running. Many regional and commuter trains in cities like Berlin were also not in operation.
Deutsche Bahn has been in a pay dispute with the GDL Train Drivers Union. GDL is demanding a reduced working week for its shift workers from 38 to 35 hours on current wages, as well as a pay increase of 555 euros per month. Deutsche Bahn has offered flexibility on working hours, but refused to reduce them without a pay cut. The nationwide rail strikes come on top of ongoing farmers' protests, sparked by anger over planned subsidy cuts, with convoys of tractors and trucks blocking roads across the country. The strikes have added pressure on Chancellor Olaf Scholz, whose government is trying to finalize its 2024 budget.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Farhana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.